Hello everyone, I'm back doing BookTube. I'm going to do the mid-year book freakout tag. A little later than most people. I was inspired by books with Emily Fox, as well as The Princess of Paperbacks to do this challenge. The original channel will be linked in the description below. This is my first non-TBR slash wrap-up BookTube video, so yeah, let's get started. So the best book of 2021 I've read so far, as well as the best sequel I've read of 2021, is Victory's Price, which is the Alphabet Squadron book by Alexander Freed. This book was just incredible, and it deals with a lot of different themes of war and what comes of it. This is probably one of the most unique Star Wars books in that it doesn't deal a lot in hope, like most Star Wars books do. It does deal with the found family aspect a little bit, but the way this wrapped up the Alphabet Squadron series was just absolutely incredible. Um, I don't know. I just love this book. It's probably one of my favorite Star Wars books. So yeah, this is by far the best book I've read in 2021 so far, as well as the best sequel I've read in 2021. There's a couple more sequels on my shelf, especially Star Wars related, that I have to read, but so far this one takes the cake for both the first two tags of the video so far. So next is new releases that I haven't read yet. This actually goes hand in hand with the first Star Wars book I ever read. And there's going to be another one later this year, but I'll get to that. It's Thrawn Ascendancy, Greater Good. I think I started to read it, but I hit this around the time I hit the reading slump, so I stopped. I don't really remember what happened. I was only like, I don't know, 20 pages in, and I switched to a different book. But I'm very excited to read this. I love the first one. The first Star Wars book I ever read was the first Thrawn Ascendancy book. It's back there. You can kind of see it right there. I really love that book. Obviously, it got me into canon of Star Wars, and I'm very excited to read this whenever I get a chance, whenever I get around to it. It might be next month. It might not be for a while, especially with the third one on the way later this year. I believe in November. But I'm definitely gonna very excited to read this book. Next is the most anticipated second half releases. Um, Most of them being Star Wars, but this one right here, which as you can see, I've started reading. It's The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott for the Star Wars The High Republic. Um, I was very excited to read that. So far, so good. It's been really, really good. I've actually read it a lot faster than I've been reading books, so actually this is doing what I thought it would and getting me out of my slump a bit. Another one, as you will see here, is another High Republic book, which is a High Republic manga that's supposed to be coming out, which is called The Edge of Balance, as well as the Visions novel, Ronin, which is part that goes along with Star Wars Visions anime that's coming out, which we'll talk about on the podcast. And then Star Wars Queen's Hope, which is the third in the Padme Amidala trilogy, that I've talked about before. I'm going to talk about again. And then No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. I'm very excited for that book. He was featured in the Black Panther book that I'm reading. One of the short stories in there is by him, and I really loved it, and I'm very excited to read more by him. He got a couple of books out that I'm going to try to get as well. The biggest disappointment of the year, I have two actually. The first one is Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp, and this would be less of a disappointment if it was not called Lords of the Sith. If it was called anything else, I probably would have liked this book a lot more. Minor spoilers ahead. This actually it follows the Darth Vader and Palpatine a little bit, not as much as you would like. Like I said, if it was literally called anything else, it follows Freedom Fighters on Ryloth a lot more than it follows the Lords of the Sith. Like I said, they're in a couple chapters, but I mean, again, if it had been called anything else, I probably would like this book a lot more. Because I really like the cover art for this book. It's really cool, and I like the writing style of it. It's just, again, I expected a lot more Lords of the Sith than this book gave me. And the second most disappointing book, I've talked about this in my TBR and my wrap up, was Live and Let Die by Ian Fleming. It's a 007 novel. Um, it's a really racist book, and I'm very disappointed in that because, like I said, I loved the story in this book. But there's just so much racism in this book that I couldn't get through it. It's unfortunate. Maybe if they went through and rewrote this book a little bit, it would make it a little bit better. But I don't ever see that happening because these are such classics. Um, And, if they're not willing to do it for other classics, they're definitely not going to do it for 007. So, I mean, it is what it is. I was hoping to love this book. Maybe I'll love other ones, but this one I just couldn't get there. It's just very disappointing. The next one is my biggest surprise. I actually read as an audiobook from my library. Was the K Team by David Rosenfeld. It's I don't want to call it a murder mystery, but it's definitely a mystery. You follow this detective who's based in Paterson, New Jersey, and he's trying to figure out who's blackmailing the mayor. And there's a lot of twists and turns that I really didn't expect, and I actually really, really enjoyed the book a lot more than I thought. There's a second K-Teen novel out, which I'm going to try to read sometime this year. It's not a must-read for the year, but I really want to read it. I thought it was a fantastic book, and I highly recommend it. David Rosenfeld writes a lot of books in that kind of same genre, so might get more into him. Hopefully it's not just a one-off, but I really enjoyed the K-Team. It's really, really good. So this is favorite new author, whether it's their debut or they're new to you. For me, it's Claudia Gray, who wrote Lost Stars. She wrote Into the Dark. She's written Leia, which is on my TBR for this month. And she's written Bloodlines. I've read three of those, four of those books. I think she's got maybe one more. But she is a fantastic writer. Most of what she does is YA, but the Bloodlines book that she did is one of my favorite in the Star Wars canon. And Lost Stars is one of the most raved about in the Star Wars canon because it's just written so well. It's almost written like an adult book for a YA audience. It's such a good book, and she writes her characters so well. Bloodline was incredible. Into the Dark so far is my favorite High Republic book. And Bloodlines is my favorite in the era that it's in, and same goes for Lost Stars. If you're going to start getting the Star Wars canon, Lost Stars is the place everyone recommends you start because Claudia Gray did such an amazing job at writing her characters, and I just cannot rave about her enough. She's got a couple other books that I know of that I haven't read, but I would love to read. But she's definitely an amazing author who writes her characters amazingly well. Wonderful. Next one is newest fictional crush. I don't get fictional crushes. I don't know. It's not something I do. I like cool characters. I don't ever develop crushes on them. Mostly because I can't really ever see them. I can see them in my head, but I like personalities and stuff like that in books, but I just know they're fictional, so I usually never develop fictional crushes. So it is what it is, I guess. Next one is my new favorite character, and that is by far from the Alphabet Squadron series is Irika Quell. Irika Quell is my new favorite character because the depth of her character is just incredible. Alexander Freed wrote such an amazing character, and I would love to see her in other Star Wars media. I would definitely love to see her in live-action Star Wars. That's probably not likely. We could see her in the X-Wing show, actually, depending on when that takes place. I think she's a spectacular character, and just the moral grayness of her character is just absolutely spectacular, and just the way she developed throughout the entire series was awesome. I love Irika Quell. Irika Quell? Erica Quell. I think it's Irika Quell. So much. She's a fantastic character, and I would love to see her in more stuff. Also, she's LGBTQ plus representation, and everyone needs representation, Book that made me cry. I don't cry very easily at different stories like this. No, I take that back. Okay, I take that back. I did cry at a book. I believe it was this year, but I don't remember. It could have been the very end of last year. But it's this book. It is Dark Disciple by Christy Golden. Spoiler alert, this book's been out for years. I don't remember what year it came out. This book came out in 2015. So it's been about 6 years. And we've talked about it on the podcast. When Asajj Ventress dies, she's my favorite character in all of Star Wars. I cried a little bit. I'm not ashamed to say that. Her story in this book was incredible. This book is incredible. This is another place to start in Star Wars canon. This is just a fantastic book. It's a lost Clone Wars arc. And when Asajj Ventress, when she died, when she sacrificed herself, it was just, I don't know if that counts, though, because it might have been last year. I'm going to include it. So the next one is the book that made me happy, and this is going to be a little controversial. The part of this book that makes me happy is the ending, and that is Matt Haig's The Midnight Library, because it's a very sad book. The whole premise of it all is just really sad. Basically, what happens is this girl takes her life, and she ends up in a midnight library where she can go live many different lives, and pick one that she wants to live in. I love the way it ends, and the way it ends made me so happy. It had such a great lesson, and you know, I don't know. This book was so good. I ended up reading it in like 2 days. This is really good. I highly recommend it. It shouldn't make me happy, but the ending made me happy. The next one is the most beautiful book you bought this year, and I bought this book solely because the cover looked incredible. I ended up looking at the back, obviously, before I checked it out, because if I'm not going to like it, I'm going to put it back. And it's called Black Leopard, Red Wolf, by Marlon James, and look at this cover. Like, look at that. It's so beautiful. This is supposed to be part of a trilogy. This is the first book. The second book I don't think has come out yet. But, just look at that cover. What is it? It's book one in the Dark Star trilogy. It's it's on African folklore, and I'm very excited to read this book. It'll probably be in my TBR for August. It's a pretty thick book. I believe it's like 500 and something pages. So it's 620 pages. But yeah, I'm very excited to read this book. And just look how gorgeous it is, and the premise of it all is really cool, and just the way it draws from African history and mythology is really cool, which is what I love. I love modern retellings of mythology, which is why I love the Percy Jackson series, one of my favorite series of all time. And I hope this does something. I actually hope this is better than all that, because it just the way I'm assuming the storytelling is, and there are illustrations in here, and there's a map of the world, and it's just, I'm very excited to read this book whenever I get around to it. But yeah, this is definitely the most beautiful book I bought this year, as a runner-up for sure. This alternate cover of Rising Storm is gorgeous, but it's definitely Black Leopard and Red Wolf. And last one in this book tag is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Number one is Queen's Peril, which is the second book in the, or maybe it's the first one, I don't remember the order which it came out, in the Padme Amidala trilogy. I'll throw a picture up. And then obviously, I need to read this book by the end of the year, mostly just because it looks so good. I'm so ready to read this book, get into it. But yeah, so that's the end of that. It was a bit of a mess, especially with stuff on my bookshelf falling. But yeah, so if you guys like this video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. I'll hopefully have more content coming to you soon. Yeah, podcast, I believe, next week. We'll be talking Loki, we'll be talking Bad Batch, and we'll be talking Black Widow. We're finally getting a movie. But yeah, so definitely subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.